everybody, good afternoon. I want to take this time here this afternoon, make a short little video. If you've been watching this channel and watching Briggs and myself out running around out in the Black Hills, you've probably seen a lot of gear hanging on my belt and in my backpack and things I've been using. And so I just wanted to take you through some of the stuff that I use in the field. You know, this is by no means saying that if you go out in the field you got to have these things. In fact, 99% of the people don't. But you know, when I'm in the field, you know, I have always worn long pants. I don't wear cutoffs out in the field. Walking through the brush and the little stickery bushes and those types of things, I just don't like those things rubbing up against my legs, and so I wear long pants and I wear boots, typically that come up over my ankles. And so only until this past year, and I don't know the reason why, but this past year I wore my 8-inch high boots, and for the first few days out in the field it just didn't fit my feet very well, so I put my everyday shoes on, which are my Keens, which are not over the ankle, and they've been great. And so I've been wearing Keens, the boot style Keens out in the field, and they've worked really well for me this year. But if you're going to go off a trail and go up the side of hills and those types of things, you need something besides flip-flops. You need something besides tennis shoes, something with a little grip, and hopefully that you don't twist your ankle. And then again, you know, I have to have, well, I don't have to, but I prefer to use a walking stick. You know, I started decades ago with always picking up old branches and those types of things and just have an actual stick to use as a walking stick. And in fact, I actually have one out in my garage that I used for probably 5 or 8 years before I started getting these, you know, these aluminum collapsible poles. And so these are great. They're great support for you know, if you're stepping over boulders or rocks and you lose your balance or whatnot. And you know, I need this. I'll tell you why after you know, probably in another video when I talk about who I am and why I do this. Okay, so I have that out there around my neck, and you've seen me use my hand lens many times. So just a lanyard to put around my neck, and you know, there's several different types of hand lens. This one is, I've been using this for about 3 years. It has a light switch on here that has 2 different magnifications, a 10x and a, well, I guess it doesn't say on here, but maybe a 20 or something. And you have a light, and so I've been using this in recent years. What I've always used before that is a metal kind of a jeweler's loop, I think they're called, and it's a 10 power, and this works great. And I keep it on a pulling lanyard so that when I have the green one around my neck, I can just grab this and pull it up. I don't have to take it off my neck. But it's 10 power, but you have to have the sample in the sun. If you're in the shade, like under the brim of my hat, it doesn't work. And so with this, I always had to take my hat off, take the sunglasses off, and get in the sun and angle this so it was always in the sun. And that's fine. I've used this style for decades, until about 5 years ago. I just happened to see somebody with one of these, and so I bought one, and I really like it because I just take my glasses off, and it works great under the brim of my hat. I don't have to take my hat off. So you know, a hand lens is great if you're you know, serious about looking at rocks and minerals, or an amateur. And this is on a lanyard too. You know, these are very inexpensive. You can buy this style here with these little coin batteries in it off Amazon for probably $5 or $8. So very inexpensive and really handy out in the field. So I use those when I collect a rock sample, you know, like you've seen me do many times. Then I have a roll of small baggies, and I'll use a Sharpie that I keep in my little day pack, and I write the location. If I know what the formation is, then I'll mark that on the bag and bag it. And then I also have an ink pen. You know, they used to be enamel, now they're not. But if I'm keeping track of like a particular, like say the formation I gathered this sample from, if I was collecting 5 or 8 of those along the same formation and they all look the same, I wouldn't know which one from which. And so I'll take this white ink pen and write a number or something on here so that I can differentiate the samples. And then if you do that, it always helps to have a notebook so you're keeping track of sample 1 was at, you know, the south end of the outcrop, and you worked your way across, those types of things. So this is how I keep my samples straight, is this baggies, a Sharpie, an ink pen, and mark on the sample, and it works really good. Okay, I use a GPS, you know, and you know, the great thing about smartphones nowadays is the smartphones actually have a really good GPS in them. And but I have a habit of using this one because this is a Garmin 62SC, and I like this because I've got I think it's in here, an 8 gig SD card that has every 7.5 minute quadrangle map north and south of South Dakota, all the way west to the west coast, plus Alaska and Hawaii on that SD card. And so wherever I'm at, I'm seeing the topography just like I'm looking at a topographic map. So I like that about this. And then it also has a digital camera. It's a low resolution camera, but if I'm at an outcrop and I collect a sample and I have a GPS location that I write down in my notebook, then I will take a picture with this GPS and it will tag the photograph with the latitude longitude of where that sample came from. So it's a great photo record and a location record as well. So this hangs on my belt loop and is really accurate. It's really good. I use rechargeable AA batteries in here, and they last for you know, if I run this 8 hours a day, I can get at least 2 days of working off of one charge of the batteries. Okay, on the other side, on one side of my left side on my belt, I wear either one of these fancy high-dollar compasses. These are both manufactured by Brunton, which is a company out of Riverton, Wyoming, and they manufacture these instruments. They're the old style, which is in this brown case. These are referred to as a pocket transit. So if you've seen surveyors out with a tripod and a transit on it, the measurements that they're making can be duplicated with this, but this is handheld. So, you know, as I hold this and I make compass readings from the dial in here, my hand is going to be quivering and shaking. It's not going to be as accurate as a tripod mounted transit, but it's good enough for out walking around. And so these are referred to as a pocket transit. There's several different styles. This one is an azimuth, so the needle goes from 0, which is north, and then clockwise 360 degrees back to north. And so, you know, you can set a line off on a certain track and then see what bearing that particular line is. And then also, then it's got another set of levels in here that's used to measure inclination, like this. And so if I set these flat edges down against a rock outcrop, you move this lever on the back side until a bubble level inside the compass levels out, and then you read the inclination of that surface. So there's a lot that can be done with these. These are very, very handy. This one's made out of a poly plastic, so it's very, very, very light. The other style in the black case here is referred to as a Geotransit. It has a very similar dial on the inside. It's set up as in an azimuth, and so again 0 to clockwise to 360 degrees. So wherever you orient this. It's going to read your direction on it, and it has the same, you put the edge down and you can measure the inclination just by moving this lever in the back. Now the difference in these two, they look relatively similar. They're the same basic design, except this one, the Geotransit, is typically more favored by engineers, because an engineer will typically collect and use a little bit different kind of data from a rock outcrop than what a geologist might do. So in future videos, when we're in the field, I will go through and use each of these instruments and show you the difference between them and how they're used in the field. So these are great instruments. They're really expensive. This one, when I bought it, it was $250, and that was with the poly shell. This one is steel or a metal, and when we bought these, when I bought mine, it was $850. So they're pretty expensive. So you want to take care of them. So that's why they got a nice hard leather case and with a good snap on it, and you want to take good care of them. Okay, on the other side of my on my belt, on my right side, I carry my rock hammer, and so very handy for digging out things, using the pick end to pry and pull things loose, and the hammer end to bust rocks. This is how I collect my samples. And again, if you've been watching this channel, you've seen me use this in the field. This one has a leather handle on it. There's ones, their style is, the handle is kind of a blue rubber. And those are very common as well. And so I see a lot of people will just carry this out in the field, and it's better to have a hanger or something you can hang it on. So there are leather hangers that you put out through your belt loop, and then you put this in the leather hanger, and the thing holds the hammerhead. A number of years ago, one of my students made these little pocket or belt loop hammer holders just out of about 1.5 inch wide strip of webbing, and then just folded, looped these things over on themselves, and then stitched them together. So you put this in your belt loop like this, and then slide your hammer down through it like that, and there you have a fancy hammer holder that just hangs on your belt. And he was even intuitive enough and thinking enough that he made this one's for the right side, and if you when you make this in this loop, if you loop it around the other way, then the slant on it is going to be for the left side. So I've got a right side and a left side version, depending on which side I carry my hammer on. I usually carry it on my right side. Okay, I think we've already talked about acid out in the field. This is hydrochloric acid, a 10% solution. It's HCl, hydrochloric acid. And we use this to test for the presence of carbonate, CO3. And so limestone, dolomite, siderite, aragonite, untold number of minerals have carbonate, CO3, in them as part of their mineral makeup. And so put in a drop of this on the rock. If it fizzes, either on a fresh surface, or if you've already seen in some videos that sometimes you got to scratch the surface of the rock with your rock hammer and get kind of a powder on it, and then the powder will fizz. But this is used to detect the presence of carbonate. So that's always with me as well. Then one of the other things I have is a pocket pH meter. So this measures pH. Well, let's turn it on and see what it measures. And you've seen me use this in some videos. So it measures pH, temperature, and TDS, or total dissolved solids, in microsiemens and in PPT. That's it. So some pretty basic water measurements in here to be looking at water quality. You just pop this bottom part off, scoop up water in this cup, and stick it on here, let it equilibrate for a little bit, and you got a very good field indication of a measurement. Okay, so for cameras, the camera I'm using right now, and what we use for most of our footage, is a GoPro Hero 9 Black, and I run a 128 gigabyte SD card in it, so I've got capability for, I think it's 4 hours. Is that right? 4 hours of video in there on the card. And then, you know, I have enough batteries that I could just keep changing out the batteries in the GoPro to fill that card up, and that'd be plenty of video for several of these episodes. So that's what Briggs is usually using as he's filming. And then for aerial shots, I've got a Mavic Mini 2, and again, I run the same thing, 128 gigabyte SD card in here, which this is 1080p, although it should be, it's high def, I think. And the card space on here, if it's fresh, says that it can hold 8 hours. So of course, I got 3 batteries with it. That's a total of about an hour flying time between recharge. So I'll never fill up that SD card on here. But this is a great little toy for getting aerial shots. And I'm still getting used to using the GoPro and the Mavic Mini. I've been in the field and doing field work since 1975. And so I'm handy at using all of these things in here, but using the GoPro in the field, using this and trying to put together content for some of these videos is new, and so I'm still playing with formats and how to exactly to film and things like that. So then I keep everything in a just a backpack bag. So the box for the GoPro, if I need to take that with me in the field, that fits at the bottom in here. And then the bag for the Mavic Mini slides on top of that. And then there's a water bladder in there, room for several pieces of fruit, snack bars, granola bars, those types of things. So for out for several hours, that pack right there, just one simple little pack, carries all of my gear. Okay, so this is field equipment, and the way I do things out in the field, if I'm not having these things or a majority of these things with me out in the field, then it just doesn't feel right. So again, you know, hat, sunglasses, long pants, that's how I do it. That's my comfort level. But when I get back, and then one of the things I've done in these videos is I bring those rock samples back and we look at them in a microscope. And this is a little USB microscope. Again, you can buy these off of Amazon. There's a variety of different designs. They're relatively inexpensive, anywhere from tens of dollars to hundreds of dollars. This one goes down to 50x up to 1000x, so 50 to 1000 times, and it plugs in by USB to your computer, or if I take this in the field, it will Bluetooth connect to my phone. So all the images and the videos that have the microscope work in it, it's been used with this connected to my computer. But I could just take this alone, turn it on in the field, and connect it Bluetooth to my phone and record the videos just on the outcrop without bringing back a rock sample. So I may do that sometime. I'm just doing it at the house right now because I like to collect the samples as well. Okay, then as you can imagine, I've got quite a pile of rock samples in baggies with sample numbers on, and those are stored and bagged and tagged and kept. And you know, I've been collecting rocks since 1974, and from all over the world, and I've got rocks everywhere in boxes. You know, I've got rock gardens outside around my house, so you know, I just don't have room in the house. So for future videos, one of the things I'm going to be doing here pretty quick, and probably right after I get cleaned up from this video, is I want to make a video that gives you more of an introduction to me, who I am, my name, a little bit about my background and history, what I do now for a job and for a living, and why I'm putting these videos together right now. So watch for that one as well. I'm also planning on putting together some videos maybe as we go into fall and winter, and if I have inaccessible field days. I've got quite a good mineral collection of different types of minerals, again from all over the world, and I'd like to start maybe a small series on just looking at individual minerals, crystals, very beautiful crystals, gemstones, those types of things. And so look for that as we go into the fall season and the winter season. So again, any comments, I'd appreciate comments. I really appreciate subscribes and shares, because if you know anything about YouTube, it's all about the number of subscriptions that you have and the total view time that you have. So I'm going to just be very point blank and ask you, even if you're not interested in this content, just play it, turn the sound off, and let it run, because I'll get credit for the view minutes, and that's important. So I think we'll call it good for this video right here. So thanks for watching. Please comment down in the comment section if you have any comments, maybe suggestions on some things you might like to see if you're familiar with the Black Hills and some areas that you maybe have visited or heard about and you'd like to see. I'll do my best to get out there at some point. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest. See ya.